All right, today we're taking a look at a sidechain technique for dynamic EQ. Now, this is a method that I like to use towards the end of a mix after most of the EQ and compression and all the separation is kind of in place and the mix is really coming together. I like to put on dynamic EQ sidechains just to do some finishing touch work to add some extra separation and clarity. In this case, this is a really bare bones mix, and most of the dynamic EQ sidechains are just giving the vocal a little bit of extra space to stay out on top of the mix. And these are really subtle techniques, but they make a really big difference. Just having things gently dance out of the way of each other. It helps out with the frequency masking and just gives a little extra nudge of separation in strategic places. So if you're new to dynamic EQs used in sidechain, I really think you're going to dig this, and hopefully you'll be able to get a lot out of this and apply it to all of your projects. So let's get right into it. Alright, so here's our drum bus, and you can see that we have this one sidechained to the vocal. The idea here is to just use a couple strategic spots in the drums to dip out of the way while the vocal's singing that doesn't make the drums sound hollow or strange in the context of the larger mix. This new version of Pro EQ3 from PreSonus in Studio One is really handy because of the visual graph. You can see your sidechain source in the purple, and the dark blue is the drums. You can see both signals overlaid on top of each other. The first one here is set at 400 Hertz, and the green one is at 1.6K to keep that crucial mid-range clarity cutting through on the vocal. And then the blue one is some high air that is not active very often, but when it is, it makes sure that the cymbals are out of the way of the air of the vocal. None of these have any boosts or cuts really in any of these finishing touch EQs. This is just dynamics, so this is like a targeted little compressor, just ducking the drums out of the way and compressing these bands while the vocal sings. So this prevents these regions from building up any further. And this dynamic EQ is on the upright bass, and this one is sidechained to the drum bus. This one right here is dipping out of the way of the bass drum. And this one is dipping out of the way of the snare a little bit. And this is dipping out of more of the higher end of the snare, where the crack of the snare is ringing out. And the blue one is dipping out of the way of the high end of the snare and the hi-hat. So this is the bass guitar sidechain to the drum bus. And this is the bass guitar sidechain to the vocals. And you can see we picked different regions here for all of these. There's just two big dips. And this doesn't detract from any of the low range of the bass. It just dips out of the mid-range. And there's none of the fundamentals of the bass going on in this mid-range. They're all below this. And then the high mid-range of the bass, where it cuts through the mix, is compressed out of the way of the vocals because this is a clarity range for the vocals. Right around 2K, in between 2 and 3K is where a lot of the clarity of the singers is coming out. So the range and the threshold are set pretty strong on this one, but you don't miss it in the bass while they're singing, and then when they're done singing, that clarity range for the upper mids of the bass comes back. So that's the bass sidechain to the vocal. Now here's the saxophone sidechain to the vocal. And they don't overlap very often, but the few seconds that they do overlap, these come in handy. Because the saxophone is occupying the same frequency spectrum as the vocal a lot of times. So that little bit of overlap ducks the sax out of the way of the vocals just to maintain their clarity. This is a really good one for lead instruments. If you're trying to have any vocal and lead instrument overplay, ducking the lead instrument out of the way of the vocals in really strategic spots is really helpful. And right there you heard it. That was very useful. Now, this is the first guitar, sidechain to the vocals, and the vocals in purple there. Let me bypass this so you can hear this guitar and the vocal and the way they interfere with each other when this is not active.
He don't live here anymore.
Now turn it back on.
He don't live here anymore. He's gone.
Yeah, that's very helpful. And this is the same guitar sidechain to the other guitar.
Don't live here anymore.
So that other guitar just has a few chords that it does on the downbeats, but when it plays, I don't want the buildup in these frequencies, and I want that secondary guitar to have room to breathe. So this is the first guitar sidechain to the second guitar.
He left the other day.
And right there. That little bit of separation really helps because the second guitar is very much a background instrument, and without this side chain, they just kind of get muddied together, and that second guitar doesn't really get a chance to cut through. So by doing this, it enables me to not turn that second guitar up any louder or give it any EQ boost that I really don't want it to have. This is just a nice dynamic way of keeping all of the buildup under control and getting a separation. And then on that second guitar, it is also sidechained to the vocals. Let me turn the first guitar off.
He's gone. If you're looking for James, don't live here anymore.
And that's it. Those are the sidechains for the finishing touches for this mix. And most of it is just to keep everything gently out of the way of the
He
vocal.
don't live here anymore.
So what I want to do now is play the whole mix for you again with just these sidechain dynamic EQs turned on and off. And like I said, it's very subtle, but I think you'll be able to hear a difference. And then I'll toggle them on and off for you.
If you're looking for James, he don't live here anymore. Oh no, he left the other day. He don't live here. He don't live here anymore. No, he don't live here anymore. He's gone. If you're looking for James, don't live here anymore.
But there you go. That's my method for dynamic EQ sidechains for towards the end of the mix to help with frequency masking and separation and clarity. And hopefully you got a whole bunch of good ideas of how you might use that in your own projects. So I hope you like that one. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll catch you on the next one.